and I was leading a silent walk, going in a line silently, walking in a line silently, and behind me I had two other women leading this walk, and behind the three of us, there were 12 men, and those 12 men were living, growing up, coming from Israel and Palestine, Eritrea, United States, and Jordan. So each of them were coming from different, very different places. Some of them are very close to each other, some of them are pretty far away, but they were all with us walking. And that walk was part of a yoga teacher training for men, the first yoga teacher training that ever happened for men in the West Bank. And that was a very, very, very special moment for me. Happened 8 months ago, having those people with me walking silently just right next to the separation wall, because basically we wanted to walk in nature, and that was the only possibility that we had to go out of the city. That is called Bejar. It's very close to Bethlehem. We sat silently for about 20 minutes, our backs to the separation wall and our sides, our eyes looking looking directly into the very beautiful nature. Either Israel or Palestine, it doesn't really matter what it has. And I'm telling you about this moment because I think like the seed that was planted about 3 years before that moment was planted in the nonviolent communication training that I was attending just after taking this flight from actually JFK. I was here for 1 year studying in a yeshiva called Hadar. I don't know, maybe some of you know it. Just right after getting off the plane and relaxing for a week, I attended a nonviolent communication training, and there I met Roberta. And I think the seed for that moment and for many of the things that I was doing in the last 3 years was planted in this training that I attended, and I attended a few other trainings through the last 3 years. And I want to share it with you because I've heard this question, what we can actually do from here. I don't know, to support or to bear witness with whatever is happening in this country and this region and with our people. And I think just bringing that moment into your conscious and just sharing that with you, I guess can give a lot to me and maybe can give a lot to you. And I also want to just invite you to share more with us. We are going to hold another nonviolent communication training in November, and we are welcoming, of course, Palestinians, Israelis, and people from all around the world, States, Europe, it doesn't really matter from where. And we are expecting to have 1/3 of Palestinians, 1/3 of Israelis, and 1/3 of what we call internationals. And so I want you to know about it. I want you to join us whenever you can, if you can, or later on. And I'm very happy to tell about the yoga project we have. I'm very happy to tell about the nonviolent communication training that will happen in November, and also about the Center for Ecology and Peace that was holding the NVC trainings in the last 3 years. The center is called ECOMI, and I'm part of a group that is kind of renewing this center, or take responsibility for it in the upcoming year. And that's it. I'm happy to say more about it later. And if you want, then my email is in the front desk, so you can also contact me if you want to hear more about it. And thank you for doing this.
Thank you. And so yes, and we'll also have sign-in sheets going around, and we'll have an email list, and if you're interested, you can also get in touch with me or get your email from the front desk. So please send along any questions you have. So just a couple of notes on that idea of planting seeds, and that's such a beautiful example of positive seeds we can plant and that you're planting, so thank you. Just want to bring back to the opposite side, which is something I think about a lot here in New York. One example is of a person who, I don't know if you heard a couple of years ago, there was a woman who pushed a man onto the subway tracks, and this happens sometimes, these horrible stories. And oftentimes we think, okay, well that person is responsible, right? And then we could go one step further and think about, well, who else? What about their parents, or what about their ex-lover, or other people in their lives that might have contributed to that sense of desperation or anger? But I also, the question that I like to ask sometimes is, what about the last 5 people they interacted with? Right? I'm not trying to place blame on anyone, but literally, what about the last 5 people? And were those people really busy? Were they stressed out? Were they scared when they saw this person who maybe seemed disturbed? And literally, they might not have any idea that that person that they saw or didn't hold the door for or whatever rushed by was in that place that they were so desperate and then ended up doing this horrific act. And yet, they're part of that same web. So I can't say that they're completely separate, and I include myself in this. I've lost people that I've lost someone I worked with who took his own life, and I ask those questions of myself, you know? And so I think in these types of situations, we all are so connected that it's coming back to that idea of every single interaction, and every single moment, every thought we have, in fact, makes a difference. And I don't know if there are any completely saintly, enlightened people in this room. That would be phenomenal. I know that I'm a work in progress, but I am constantly making that effort to each moment try to cultivate that peace and allow it to be, because I think beyond all of this discourse we have in our minds, there is this fundamental layer of love, of peace, and acceptance. So what seeds will you plant today? This is my invitation to you as we continue. You can go to the next slide, Hector. Go to the next slide. And I think in terms of speaking about this conflict and all conflicts around the world, we can call to mind the Chinese character for crisis, which is actually 2 sub-characters, the character for danger and the character for opportunity. And so truly within any crisis we see on a global scale, on an international scale, on a national scale, and even our interpersonal relationships, there's a danger of falling down this road of going into discourse that is filled with anger and a sense of separation, but there's also an opportunity to shift that consciousness. And that's my intention for this gathering today, and I know a lot of amazing people who have really made this happen share that intention. And I'm so grateful for all of their support and inspiration. So my invitation to you is to really approach the rest of this day with an open heart and an open mind. Thank you so much. We're going to transition into a bit of the next section, which has to do with cultivating our peace within. So Rumi said lots of amazing things. One of them is that at first I was clever and I tried to change the world. Now I am wise and I try to change myself. And so I think, as Marianne was alluding to, a prerequisite for our ability to truly affect change in the world is to change ourselves through prayer, meditation, through therapy, through nonviolent communication, whatever strategy works for you, to find the ways to transform our own consciousness, to elevate it so that we actually change by our presence. So now I'd like to invite another very special guest, Dr. David Ahrens, who has come down all the way from Boston to join us today. He has an extensive background working in mindfulness and peace building. He's also a physician and is here to guide us a bit in the mindfulness practice and also to share some of his work that he's done in the Middle East as well. So welcome, Dr. David.
you hear me without the mic? I have a pretty loud voice. Gives me a chance to not have to hold on. So, shalom, peace, welcome to everybody. I'm very curious, how many people here have done any mindfulness meditation? Just raise your hand. Very wonderful, wonderful. Well, one of the ways we need to heal, as we all know, is through humor. And I don't know how many people have ever read the book Anatomy of an Illness by Norman Cousins, where he had a life-threatening illness, arthritic type illness, and he couldn't take any more medications. The medications would do him in. And he decided, through introspection, maybe some reading, he wasn't in healthcare, he was a writer, I think he was editor of the New York Review, not quite yet right, but in any event, he started to listen to the videos that were funny to him. And over a period of time, he cured his illness. And he became actually a professor of preventive medicine at UCLA, even though this was not his field in the year. So, with that, I will make an attempt. I'm not a comedian, as you'll see, but I will try my best. And I'm in New York, and this is a New York story, so I haven't told it in a long time, so I may blow it too. So be mindful, kind, and compassionate. There's a woman from Brooklyn, where my dad's from, the old Ebbets Field, Dodgers, right? And she goes to the travel agent, and she says, I want a ticket to go to India to see the guru. And I said, lady, you don't want to go to India. It's a big trek. She says, trek? I'll trek. I said, no, we have a special to go to Israel. And I said, no, I don't want to go to Israel. I want to go to India to see the guru. They will go home and think about it and come back in a week. Maybe you'll change your mind. The special is really good. Bill Tree, 2 for 1. You will bring somebody. So she comes back and he says, well, you want to buy tickets to go to Israel? No, I want to go to India to see the guru. So he says, okay. And she arrives in India, and she finds the people that are going to take her to where she wants to go. And they say, see the top of the mountain? You have to trek for 3 days. Trek, yeah. So she goes to the top of the mountain after this exhausting trip, and she admits she's exhausted, but she's determined. And she gets to the temple where where the guru is, and the guard says, no one sees the guru. So being a very creative New Yorker, which I once was, she says, look, what about 30 seconds? All of you can take me right out. All I want is 30 seconds to be with the guru. So they converse back and forth, and finally they said, okay, you can go in 30 seconds, not a big deal. We'll let you go in. She goes in, and she says, Harold, come home already. Take off your mask. And the punchline is, even a guru has a mom. But on a more serious note, on a really more serious note, okay, mindfulness practice is about our masks. We all, to be socialized, to apply for different things, put on masks. And the problem is, in my view, that after a while, we forget who we are because we're wearing these masks. Put on these masks. And so, mindfulness practice is truly about finding our home. And then if we want, because we live in the world, put on a mask, sure, put on a mask. But put on a mask with intention, with awareness. with mindfulness. I had the very, very profound good fortune and serendipity to have two experiences in Israel. Only two, but they were very profound. The first one, I ran into some Israelis, Buddhists, at a retreat with my teacher, Thich Nhat Hanh, who's a Vietnamese Zen master, in Plum Village, where its retreat center is. And the PS of it was I and several other people, Americans and French, teachers of mindfulness and Thich Nhat Hanh's tradition, of Plum Village tradition, got invited to go to Israel to lead, not to live, but to lead two retreats. One was in Nazareth. So that was pretty, and we important and a vocation. And we had Israeli Jews, we had Israeli Arabs, or as the young folks like to refer to themselves as Palestinians of Israeli citizenship. And we had Palestinians from East Jerusalem and the West Bank, and even a few people, somehow, I don't know how, from Gaza. It was a very balanced group of men and women. And it was really profound because we did the tradition of deep meditation together, practice and practice, and then sharing. And in the tradition that I come from, the sharing is not a debate, is not a one-upsmanship, but it's just putting out in the circle my story. And at the end of that, an Israeli Arab woman, farmer, and a Jewish Israeli who I happen to have known, who was a Holocaust survivor, hugged deeply. And what was the connection? The connection really was one of suffering. Different stories of suffering. And we know from what we've been reading in the paper for the last couple of weeks, tremendous pain and suffering of everybody, whatever side, whatever viewpoint. Whether you're pro-government, anti-government in Israel, whether you're part of the Hamas group or anti-Hamas in Gaza, I've spoken to many, many. So it's about this deep level of connection through our common humanity. The next story, I do Buddhist practice. I'm a Buddhist teacher. I'm actually a Buddhist chaplain. But my roots are Jewish. I'm first generation after the Holocaust. And I love Jewish music, and I attend the synagogue fairly regularly on Shabbat and his holidays. And for the first time, one of the members of the synagogue, his son, went to Seeds of Peace, which is a group that meets up in Maine, brings Jews and Palestinian kids together, and other groups that are in conflict, not just Jews and Palestinians. And it was the first time they, as part of the sermon, they ever had a Palestinian speak through the sermon. And this young fellow, we see as a member of the congregation, spoke. And this is what he said. And this is so much part of our mindfulness practice, which he got as a 16-year-old boy. He's a boy from Gaza, and the family was running out of money. This was maybe in 2009, I don't remember. Another military incursion into Gaza. And he got shot. And he was going to die. He just was going out to get some provisions, some food for his mom. They were running out of food. He just got shot. And when he got shot, he was taken by the Israeli military to Tel Aviv, to the hospital, to be treated. And he was unconscious for days. And when he awoke, his father was there with him, was allowed to come to Tel Aviv, to the hospital, of course, given the circumstances. And in the course of conversation, he said, when I was semi-conscious, I was angry, and I was grappling with myself, and this is a 16-year-old boy. And I could decide to live the rest of my life in anger because of what happened to me as an innocent boy just going out for food, or I take a different path. Take a path of forgiveness, appreciation, and gratitude that I'm in this hospital, that they saved my life, that I can walk again, and that's the path I have chosen. And the third story is I was involved with a Jewish American and Palestinian American group. When I came back the first time, I ran into my friend Leo Stolbach, who's also a physician and also very concerned about humanity. And he had the class of '62 at Harvard created this wonderful group called ADA-IPP. Basically, it wasn't a dialogue group, but it was a political group of Jews, Jewish Americans, and Palestinian Americans who had gone to Harvard, and then it got larger, but initial group, that had parallel careers. It was a Jewish American judge, it was a Palestinian American judge. That wasn't by design, but that was by what happens when people go to Harvard and have a nice degree. They were teachers, and they were businessmen, et cetera, et cetera. And I was honored to be invited and ended up being asked to join the board. And as a result of that, I got an email, and I was invited to go to Palestine, to Bethlehem, in 2000, I don't remember the year, but about 5 or 6 years ago, and to lead a mindfulness workshop in a conference on Palestinian nonviolent resistance. And I wasn't sure, were they really, really interested in the nonviolence, which is where I come from, I'm a pacifist, or was the resistance, and the nonviolence was more of a minor. So I wrote a workshop that was very clearly about mindfulness in the place of war. And I was very good fortune because of a previous visit to Israel to call my friend Dorit, who lives in the former mayor of the only Arab Jewish village, Neve Shalom Ohad Al Salam, and she got me in touch with a Palestinian woman, Israeli Arab woman from a small village who was a social worker and a meditation teacher. And so the two of us planned this workshop together. It was very difficult because I don't speak any Hebrew to speak of it. She didn't speak any English because she was born after 48, so limited English, and particularly on the telephone. We gave the workshop, and Dorit ended up, three of us giving the workshop, and Dorit is an Israeli Jew, at this conference on Palestinian nonviolent resistance. And there was a woman from Gaza who was a music teacher. And she shared during this about how she hasn't been able to sleep with all the flares and the raids and the nightmare. And she's teaching music of the heart to children in the public school. And this meditation that we did, many international people, I didn't realize how many different international organizations are in both Palestine, West Bank, occupied territory, under policies, and Israel proper. Many different organizations in different parts of the world. So we had in this particular workshop, people chose to come to our workshop, asked us to do it again, we did it a couple of times. And she shared, this woman from Gaza, what peace she received doing the meditation. I want to share one more thing before we do a brief meditation. Because it is about practice. It isn't about just talking. And it's about meeting from the heart to heart, not just with words. The words are important. It's the way we communicate. So, what do we do? It's about peace within. We can't have peace without finding the peace within. I know that I'm very imperfect, and I know when I feel in that space of peace, so healing for other people. I can be so there for other people. And when I'm not in my own place of peace, again, yes, my kids, yes, my friends, my old friends, I know since, I don't know, since I was 7, many years, over 50 years. So, this is really important. So I want to share a practice. Roberta is my dear friend. I'm so glad to see her. It's one absolute thrill that Thich Nhat Hanh has taught me, and I've taught it not only in meditation settings, but in other secular settings, because we all live in relationship. And it's about really going inside, letting go of our ego, touching, being aware of our narcissism, and really being real with ourselves and whoever we're connected with, on a one-to-one relationship, on a community, and even on a larger scale. So the first aspect of Jungian conflict is known as beginning again, beginning anew, beginning again. And there's a lot of inherent contradictions to this practice, or unusual aspects, because it's a very humble practice in many ways. So the first stage, when you're in conflict and you finally get together, is a person who has been felt wronged by whatever happened, to show appreciation in very, very real ways to something and many things that they know about the other person, that they appreciate about them, that they care about them. This is somebody who's been hurt, and yet reaching in, and it's amazing how many things you can find when you do that. It's so mindful, it's so powerful. And then the other person has an opportunity to do the parallel, right? After that, even to me, I was amazed, because I'm not a psychologist, I was not involved with philosophy or human resource dimension. But after that, the individual, again who's hurt, says how they themselves, in this interaction or in other interactions with this individual, have been unskilled. What they've done that hasn't been mindful or aware or connected. So first is appreciation of the other, and then there's self-awareness about how I, myself, have not been skilled. And then, again, reciprocity with the person who caused the discomfort. Sometimes just doing those two steps, it's so connected, it's so mindful, you don't even have to get to the last step. And you set a tone for the last step. And the last step is a person with mindful speech, with mindful energy, because you've set this up, has the opportunity to really share why they were hurt, or in what way what the person said or did was not kind, as they perceived it, all about perception. And so the person who then gets to respond might say, I was a jerk, or whatever, I didn't even realize this, or a whole host of range of things that we can all think, or you didn't hear me right, or, you know, what about last week when you did X, Y, Z, and all this. And you try to keep it to the issue at hand. So we say, what about next week? Or, I'm sorry, last week? We say, okay, we can meet again, and we can talk about that. But now we're focusing on this. It is such a profound practice. I really encourage everybody. If you want more one-to-one on how to do this, or questions about it, please ask me in a break or later. But I want to lead us in a meditation. We'll be reading this. I know there are a lot of speakers, but it's really important for us to go inside, to touch, that heart space, because we're dealing with so much sadness, so much profound complexity about this issue. The more I talk to people, I went to Walden Pond yesterday to prepare for coming here, Walden Pond in Boston, where Thoreau wrote his books and lived in peace. And I met Israeli people. You know, God works in such mysterious ways. And I met Palestinian people at Walden Pond yesterday to prepare for coming here. So in May, I said, no, I'd rather be sailing, filling those, but I have to be here. So it's all about touching each other with smiles, with love, with realness. Okay? So I invite everybody who feels comfortable to close their eyes or not, to lower your gaze in a way that you feel comfortable. Find a comfortable place in your chair or on your cushion. And just allow whatever thoughts, criticism of me, thoughts about something before, to just let it all go and touch your breath. Without changing your breath, just notice where you are, in the here and in the now. Breathing in, breathing out. In, out. Breathing in, I'm aware of my in-breath. And breathing out, I smile to life. Even amongst the pain, I smile to life. Breathing in, at your own pace, in your own timing, I'm awareness of my breath. And breathing out, I smile. When your mind wanders, as our mind is woven to do, without judgment, being very, very gentle with yourself. Bring your attention back to your breath, the breath of life. Breathing in, smile. Practice is about transformation, creativity, you might try to bring in the sadness of the world, feeling the sadness, sending out courage, transforming the sadness and sending out courage. So on the in-breath, aware of sadness, on the out-breath, send out courage. Sadness, bring in anger. You can finish the sentence for yourself. And what do you send out? I bring in anger, and what do I send out? Bringing in anger, transforming it, and sending out energy of healing, an energy you choose. And I bring in fear, and I send out strength. Bring in fear, and I share strength. And I bring in hate, and I send out love. Bring in hate, send out love. Come back to our breath, breathing in, breathing out, and smile. Breathing in, aware of my in-breath, and breathing out, I smile.
get to know your neighbors,